Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. As further southwards, we've still got another warm and fairly dry day tomorrow, but as we head into Sunday and Monday, it is going to be turning a lot colder and unsettled for all once again. And it looks like this could be the pattern that is setting in for the next week or two, generally pretty cold and a little bit more unsettled. The one positive is that yes, we are going to see showers around. It's going to be blustery. It's going to be pretty cold north or northwesterly wind, but it is going to be reasonably dry. We're not looking at any big walls of rain as that air mass is going to be cold and dry. So yeah, not feeling great out there. Definitely feeling like we're in early spring or late winter, but in terms of precipitation, a lot better than February, March, and so far early April have been. So some positives there, some negatives, but yeah, unfortunately if you are looking for something a bit warmer, we're not going to be seeing that in the next week or two. Even the GFS here in the medium to longer range even brings the risk of some snow again, as we see some lower pressure bumping into some of this cold air. It's a very low risk, but just showing you the potential that is here, that's there even this time of year, if we do get those colder air masses pushing in. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. As you see further northwards, we have got some heavy rain at the moment, a few heavy showers. It's probably a better description, pushing in from the northwest, even a line of pretty torrential rain moving through there, the central belt. But it should clear over the coming hours. But this general unsettled pattern further northwards is that cooler air mass starting to push in. Again, it's not going to be big walls of rain, but definitely will contain showers as that cold air filters in. Further southwards, it's been a very warm day. Temperatures around the 20-degree mark today. Locally, even slightly higher than that. A pretty decent day. Feeling like mid to late spring. Definitely sort of conditions a lot of people will be enjoying. However, it may only just about last tomorrow afternoon before it is swept away, and probably swept away for a good week or more as that cold air pushes in. Now, we can see this on the temperatures, still fairly mild. Further eastwards, we've got dry conditions and clearer skies. Further north and westwards, slightly cooler. Still mild here, so the cold air hasn't pushed in completely, but you can already see those showers forming, which shows that the pressure is dropping as we see those wind direction change. Do look at the latest UKV. You can see through this evening, those showers will continue, but they shouldn't be too widespread or too heavy. As we're into tomorrow, more showers in the north and the west, and potentially being a bit more heavy there through the afternoon as we start to see the transition to colder, drier air. And you see we fully make that transition through Saturday into Sunday, and as this this cloud clears to the southeast, that is when we're in the dry, cold air with showers pushing into Scotland, even some snow there, and into Sunday afternoon, all starting to see some heavier showers coming in from the northwest. Of course, closest to the Atlantic will be areas further westward, so those are where going to be the showers going to be focused, but still could drift further eastwards as well. So cool and pretty unsettled then. As I said, no walls of rain, but plenty of showers around, even snow developing in some of these as we head into Monday. And this pattern continues through much of Monday into Tuesday as well. You can see at brief periods, we can see a little ridge of high pressure building. We could see slightly dry conditions, but we will remain fairly unsettled and fairly cold all the way into the middle of the week as we see another low riding round the mid-Atlantic ridge. Again, could give a bit of snow over the high ground there, and just generally pretty cold conditions. You see at the moment, the air mass is warm in the south, a good 8 to 10 degrees above average, but slowly that air mass gets pushed away by cold air through Saturday evening, and that cold air dominates through much of Sunday. See more bursts of cold air into Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday before it does get temporarily pushed away, but that's not a big change. We're just going to see more cold air filtering from the north. So substantial change in the next day or so, and then we're just going to see pretty much cold air developing and dominating from the north. Of course, it is mid-April, so impossible really to see anything insanely cold, but still the risk of frost and generally quite a cold feel out there over the coming days and the coming week. See this afternoon, 20 to 21 degrees there, and we could see a similar picture tomorrow in the far southeast. Again, 18 to 19 degrees there, could be slightly higher, but that will be dependent again on the sunshine amounts. As we head into Sunday, pretty chilly overnight, low to mid-single digits. And as we head into the afternoon, look at that, struggling around 12 to 14 degrees, or about 6 or 7 degree temperature drop there. And that's just when the cold air gets going. As we head into Monday, a frost quite widely further northwards in rural areas. And into Monday afternoon, look at that, struggling to get into double digits, widely kind of 6 to 10 degrees. Tuesday, temperatures could rise slightly higher, 13, 14, and that's coincide with some more sunshine and dry conditions, so less showers with that wind not blowing as much. But another burst of colder air into Wednesday, and look at that, most areas not getting above the mid to high single digits, maybe 10 to 12 degrees in the south, so turning increasingly colder once again. Again, I'll emphasise it's not going to be anything ridiculous. We're not looking at sort of 1 or 2 degrees by day, maybe over the higher ground of Scotland. We could still get towards those low single digit highs. Most areas going to be sort of 8 to 12 degrees, but this time of year that is a good few degrees below average. And of course, when you add on the northwesterly wind, it is going to make it feel pretty cold indeed with that wind chill. Now, if you do look at the longer range, you'll be able to see why I'm talking about it sticking around for quite a period of time. You can see the northwesterly wind coming in over the weekend and staying there all the way through to early next week. You can see it's not a massive northern blocking feature at this stage. It's more of a mid-Atlantic ridge, and that's why it is still fairly dry because high pressure is close by. Now, eventually the high pressure is going to topple, and this is where we get with a lot of runs. Slightly milder air coming in, but still is fairly chilly. If we look at the temperature deviation, it's still around average, but of course under higher pressure we're likely seeing inversion under any milder air. Now you can see that eventually the high pressure tries to retrogress out into the Atlantic, and we open up the floodgates to some even colder air by day 10. A lot more uncertainty with this pattern, but it would be interesting nonetheless if this came off. But look at that, a long fetched northeasterly wind, very cold, and look at that low pressure developing within that cold air, and even the risk of a bit of snow developing. You can see the cold air is really running out towards the end of April, but nonetheless, evaporative cooling combined with that colder air, you couldn't rule out some flakes, especially over higher ground, but maybe even to low-lying areas during the day, during the night, with that evaporative cooling really taking off. If we do zoom into the United Kingdom, look at that, Wednesday the 24th of April, midday, 5 to 8 degrees, very cold indeed. And you can see overnight widely down towards freezing, and the subsequent days freezing overnight quite widely in the day, maybe 10 to 12 degrees. So yeah, really chilly conditions from the GFS. Pretty insanely cold for the time of year. Again, look at the temperature deviation. See, the air mass isn't completely out of this world, but it is very cold nonetheless, and would be a real shock to the system after we've had this slight uptick in temperatures over the past few days. Could be going from 21, 22 degrees today down towards 7 or 8 degrees in around a week's time. Now, if you compare to the GM, it's fairly similar in the medium range, but longer range towards day 10, it does deviate slightly. You see all the north and northwesterly winds coming in over the coming days, and then we see the middle Atlantic ridge kind of drop and develop over the top of us in around a week's time. This is where the GFS does push it back towards Greenland, but instead here, the GFS kind of oscillates over the top of us. So this could bring very dry conditions, and we could see the temperatures jump up a little bit as we do see some slightly milder air masses, so back towards the mid-teens here. But I am sceptical if it would last all too long, because you can already see the high pressure trying to push back towards Greenland, and you can see cold pooling to our north, and it could allow another colder air mass to push in. So that would be one we'll have to keep a very close eye on. Maybe just a temporary 2 days or so of milder air before the cold does return. Now, to go back to the ECMWF, again, northwesterly wind over the coming days, staying pretty cold indeed. Mid-Atlantic ridge eventually topping over the top of us, and then you can see again the high pressure trying to push northwards and trying to push in that northeasterly wind. Some actually really cold air is developing to our northeast there, remnants of the tropospheric polar vortex. Over the top of us, still pretty chilly, but you see the upper air temperatures do return towards average, and you see temperatures are back towards average as well, low to mid-teens there, around that sort of 12 to 15 degree mark. So better, but still not particularly warm. And of course, with that wind coming in off the North Sea, it will hold those temperatures around the east coast. It's pretty cold indeed. And if we did start to push in that cold air, which if we do pull in the upper air temperatures, again, which isn't too far away, just across the North Sea, across Scandinavia, that did start to push in, those temperatures would drop further back towards the high single digits. So you can see, even though the GFS is the only one that really goes particularly cold in the longer term, the other runs have the potential, and regardless if it doesn't come off, it still remains fairly chilly all the way up to day 10. And we can see this from the latest ensembles. Big drop over the next 24 to 36 hours to well below average. Stays well below for our average for a number of days, and then we see a slow trend back towards average in around a week's time. But most runs keep us around average, no massive bump, maybe back towards mid-teens for a time. And then we could see another secondary drop off here. We could see we go back towards the mean, and then we drop away again. This is where the GFS goes very cold, and it has got reasonable support here. As I said, the one positive we're looking at is pretty low precipitation. There will be showers around, it's inevitable with lower pressure and low dew points. We can still see showers develop, but it's unlikely to be particularly heavy, especially further southwards. If you look at the 2 meter temperatures, you can see again, big drop over the coming days, slight bump, and then another little drop there. Again, it is very subtle, but it does highlight what we're seeing on those operational runs. Cold early next week for a good 3 or 4 days. Then we could see a slight recovery as that high pressure topples over that mid-Atlantic ridge, and as the high pressure tries to build further northwards and westwards again, we could see a resurgence of another colder pattern like the GFS shows there. And you can see the operational run showing around 6 or 7 degree highs for about 4 consecutive days. That will be insanely cold for the end of April. So this could be one to keep a very close eye on. Next week looks pretty bang on now, but beyond that, that secondary drop that the GFS is really going for, that could cause some issues, late season frosts, etc. But at this stage, it is too far out to say with any certainty. If you do finally compare to the ECMWF, well, unfortunately I have to look at the midnight run as the midday run hasn't fully come out, but you see a similar picture. Very mild at the moment, dropping to very cold, a good 5+ degrees, about 5 to 7 degrees below average come early next week, and then a slight bump in around a week's time, and then a more of a plateau. Not as much of a drop off beyond that, so not as much of a secondary surge there, but remaining fairly chilly. Some mild runs appearing, more milder runs than yesterday, but still the majority keep us cold and below average. So it's looking like a pretty chilly next couple of weeks setting up. Pretty chilly second half of April. So if you do enjoy more warm weather, do try and enjoy tomorrow if you are in the south. If not, hopefully things improve as we head towards the last week or so of April, as there still is uncertainty there. And of course, into early May, inevitably it is going to get warmer. But once again, another little chill to come for the second half of April. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.